Recording.
Hello, welcome to Blades and Blasters. This is a one-shot in the system, Call of Cthulhu. It's a pretty brief one. We'll see if anybody survives. With me today, I'm your GM Slip, and with me today is Rogue playing Howard, Bees playing Oliver, and new to us, Wicked Jester playing Edmund. And without further ado, we are going to jump in here. November 26th, 1924. You have been working tirelessly with shovel, spade, and trowel in the Egyptian Valley of Kings. The sun beats down upon you as you carefully unveil the facade of an ancient structure cut deep into a cliff face, buried by the sands of several millennia. Your party of contracted laborers work like busy ants, and soon a doorway is discovered. You stand proudly at the top of 13 steps that descend to an entryway covered by a large stone slab. Move you all over. Do you all have sight?
No.
You do not.
Negative.
Does anybody have sight?
No. It's the new dynamic lighting, I'm sure.
Oh.
I just ran a tutorial on this, setting it up.
Down in the lower left corner, I can see.
Yep. Yeah, I just...
You clicked it on? Yep, I see it.
Aha.
Everybody should be able to see now.
Nice.
You see the 13 steps, right?
Mhm.
Indeed.
All right. So, would everyone please describe their characters, give a little bit of background for any listeners? And we'll start with Oliver.
Oliver is an archaeologist. He's middle-aged. He's drenched in sweat. He's quite bookish, and he's actually he's a little bit neurotic, as his job is kind of on the line. He has not been able to produce any or receive any funding for his research, and he feels like this is his last chance to get something. And this is huge for him. He's thrilled, but he's still a big nervous wreck.
All right, thank you. And Rogue, tell us about Howard.
Howard McCready. He is a linguist, I believe, although he's spent most of his professional career translating Germanic manuscripts. The professor's training at the University College in London was in Middle Egyptian hieroglyphics. He's here to help translate any discoveries that might be unearthed at the dig site in the Valley of the Kings. So right now he is giddy, maybe a little bit overzealous, and also sweating a great deal, and not used to this climate at all, but very excited to be here.
Wonderful. All right. Tell us about Edmund.
All right. Well, Edmund, being the incredibly wealthy person that he is, his family comes from a lot of money, heavily in the selling of arms. I mean, we are in the heyday after World War I. Don't worry about who the family sold arms to, but Edmund is funding everything just so that he can get a little bit of a thrill. He left his wife bored at home just to sponsor this dig. Now, Edmund, he's probably wearing the finest clothes that adventurers might wear. underneath a nice little tent. While everyone else is sweating, he's just sitting there watching his money unfurl. Thrilled that they happen to have found something, because that very, very boring archaeologist couldn't find anything, and getting incessantly tired of the linguist talking nonstop about this or that. And most of the time, you'll probably find him sipping a glass of brandy or cleaning one of his many firearms.
Wonderful. So, under your watchful gaze, the laborers construct a primitive pulley system, and they start to hoist the heavy slab that's blocking the tomb entrance. Stale air from the dark hallway invites you inside with a promise of untold treasure. You excitedly rush into the darkness. You are mere steps away from fame, fortune, and the discovery of a lifetime. As you all enter the ancient chamber, you hear a cry of alarm from one of the laborers.
What's going on out there?
Oh, I'm sure it's nothing. It's. Oh.
The stone slab behind you suddenly slams to the ground and you're plunged into total darkness. So I'm going to move your tokens into total darkness.
Any workers get stuck with us?
No.
We're on our own.
You guys wanted to get in, they know to stay back.
I think they might have
guys
done
are
this on purpose.
Important.
See, it's nothing. It's we just have to. Does anyone have a match?
Look at your character sheets. What is on there is what you have.
I do have matches. I will. Very nervously. I'm mostly nervous in front of Edmund, as somebody who's funding this. I don't want him to. I don't want to embarrass him. So I will fumble for a match and at least strike one little match, just to see the glimmer of what we're looking at here.
Okay. You do have a candle, by the way, too.
Ah, so I do have candles. I think I'll light a candle. So it's a little
All
more
right.
permanent than a match. Ah. Are we all okay? Is anyone hurt?
No, I'm just wondering how we're about to get out of this mess. Come on, archaeologist, isn't there always a way out of these things?
Right now, I want everyone to make a sanity roll.
Oh dear. What a way to start. Oliver has his wits about him. Oh.
All right, let's see. Why is this making double rolls? Oh, okay, we'll go first. So, Oliver, you are freaking out a little bit. You didn't expect to get trapped in this cave
Right.
or tunnel or this tomb. Let's see. You take 1 point of sanity loss. Describe what Oliver looks like as he's starting to panic.
He actually stops sweating, but his body freezes. I think he might try to smile, but actually might faint at this point. Just collapse right there, lighting the candle, but then quickly collapse to the ground.
Howard tries to catch the candle, but doesn't bother with Oliver at first. He fumbles with the candle, making sure that it doesn't go out, looking over towards Oliver then to see if he's all right. Those damned fools. He looks back towards the stone wall. They probably
Howard-
did do this on purpose.
Why don't Howard and Edwin make a listen check? Oh, wow. Okay. Edmund, why don't you roll too, just for funsies, but Howard certainly hears anything there is to hear.
I'm trying to find listen on here.
Just remember, it's all alphabetical. I certainly have a hard time finding them. Macros on there sometimes. Oh, yeah, I see it. Okay. So, Edmund, maybe you're kind of too caught up looking around, panicking as Oliver drops the candle. But Howard, you hear some of the laborers laughing, sounding quite pleased with what's happened, while others seem to be angry. It's a chaotic and confusing kind of sound. People arguing in Arabic.
Can I understand anything that they're saying in Arabic?
Do you have Arabic as a language?
I mean, sure.
I think you've got Egyptian hieroglyphics, German, and Latin. So
Oliver,
you can make
Oliver has it, but he's passed out.
yeah. You can make a straight intelligence check, and if you make a hard check, I'll tell you something.
No.
No. It's gobbledygook. You just kind of get the feelings.
Yeah. After he says that as well, he I think it's confirmed to him as he's like holding the candles and looking down towards Oliver on the ground. He's like, those bastards, they did this on purpose. I can hear them laughing.
Well, you're the linguist. Can't you understand them?
Unfortunately, I didn't learn Arabic. I do know a bit about hieroglyphics, though. And he starts to look at the walls.
Yeah, Oliver, you start to come to.
Yes. Oh. Yes, here we are. Oh, yes. Oh, very... excuse me. Yes.
I see you're sleeping on the job there, Oliver.
Oh, forgive me. I must have, it's just exhaustion from the heat. Forgive me. Where are the workers?
They're outside laughing at us.
I would like to call to them in Arabic. Call to them, let us out, this isn't funny. He's kind of pounding on the rock and talking and yelling at them in Arabic. We could have been hurt. Let us out.
Why don't you make a listen check?
Sure. Oliver will attempt to listen back.
Oh, that's good. You can hear it. You hear some voices say, "They're alive. We have to help them," and others, say, "No, they deserve their fate." And as you listen to them argue back and forth, there's suddenly a couple of surprised groans and a cry of pain. And it's hard to make out much more through a thick stone slab. But after a while, all you hear is the murmur of voices, and they don't respond to anything you say.
I'm sure they'll let us out as soon as they can. I'm sure they're digging us out right now.
I don't know, old chap. This seems rather ominous to me.
Well, perhaps, Edmund, you can find us a way out of here. There's always a way out of these things, isn't there?
Oh. I'm sure. What? I'm not even quite sure. What are you? Can you read these hieroglyphs? Do you recognize any of this, Howard? Is it?
Let's have everyone roll a spot hidden. All right. Edmund, you're standing closest to the stone slab. You notice that it's got oddly carved sigils on this side. And Howard, you notice limestone chips scattered across the floor, very close to this slab. Can you make an intelligence check? Okay, this was an easy one because you got a good success on your spot hidden. But you think maybe that this slab has been moved before, that this is not the first time that this tomb has been opened since it was sealed. That those chips come from some previous opening of the tomb.
Like maybe somebody opened it before from the inside.
It's hard to know from the inside or from the outside, but you think that definitely since the tomb was sealed, it's been opened before. Maybe there was a prior excavation. I think that would probably be your assumption.
He'll put the candle down there to kind of illuminate the chips, and look at the others. A worried expression on his face, sweat beading on his brow. It's like, I don't believe this is the first time anyone has been here.
Oh no, this is our discovery. We're the first.
But look, it looks
Howard.
as though.
There's these strange carvings or something on this side over here. Would you mind taking a look at them? I can't make heads or tails of them. Almost like somebody left a message on the backside, possibly.
He looks down back at the chips again and then kind of dismisses them as he goes over to check.
Anyone with Egyptian hieroglyphics? Oh, wait. You can make an occult or a hieroglyphics roll to examine the door.
Do we hit the green one or the purple one from the sheet?
I don't think it matters, but you should have a macro for language Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Oh, I see it.
I could attempt an occult roll, but it's on my skill is only 5.
Attempt it. Oh, also, let's remember the luck mechanic. Whenever there's a roll that you feel is particularly important and you fail it, you can do what's called pushing. And that spends a luck point in order to do that. And then, and that luck point's gone permanently. So if there comes a time when you have to roll luck, your luck will be lower. But it will let you roll again, and you might make it. But if you fail, something bad happens.
Oh, is that the 9 in the bubble, the red bubble?
No, that's your hit points.
Oh.
Your luck, I believe, is your green. So your luck isn't too bad.
Oh, okay, yeah. I will spend
I think it's our archaeologist that's got the crap luck. He's had a hard knocks life.
And it's only 1?
Yeah, it only costs 1 to make to push a roll. But something bad happens if you fail it.
Okay.
Well, I'll go ahead and
And
make
I mean,
an
it's
occult
not
roll.
like something terrible, but
Right.
all right. Well, that was, yeah, you didn't make your occult roll. So nope, you don't recognize these sigils, although you kind of recognize what they are, just not what they mean.
Okay, I'm gonna try it.
Okay, you're gonna push.
Yeah.
Oh, you made it this time with a hard success. So you think as you examine them, at first it confuses you because you're expecting it to be traditional hieroglyphics, but as you examine it farther, it looks like some sort of, like, it's not quite the traditional use of the hieroglyphics. It looks like
Alternate dialect or something.
exactly, and maybe something that's primarily used in priestcraft, but they're sealing sigils used to protect and ward against those who would rob the tomb.
Of course.
What
So
is it?
Howard starts to look kind of quizzically at it at first, and he says, and he's kind of mumbling out loud to everybody too, probably while he's looking at it. This is an older dialect than
What is it, Howard? What's going on?
these are some sort of priestly sigils. Protection.
Protection for who? Protection for us, or protection for what?
He sighs and he says, keeping people like us out. Grave robbers and such, I believe.
We are no grave robbers. We are protectors of the prehistoric past.
Yes, yes, Edmund. We are no threat. We aim only to preserve what we find here.
Exactly. And if we happen to preserve it in a fine museum or a private collection, at least it's being preserved.
He smiles and kind of chuckles. Kind of a nervousness in the chuckle, maybe, but he's like, it's an old superstition anyway.
As they will be honored that we'll tell their stories. I'm sure we will find many great things to share.
Well, we ain't gonna share anything unless we, get out of here. So, maybe you guys can read the walls or press a secret little button and find a way for us to get out of here.
Yes. So what you see here is kind of what you actually see. A dark hallway, damaged and faded hieroglyphics on the walls. The candlelight highlights cracks running through many of the frescoes.
Well, we should probably step lively, look for another way out.
You have somehow acquired my candle. You can proceed first.
Do you wish to lead the way?
Yes, sure. I go. Yes, I'll have to take that candle back. Swallows deeply.
Edmund just pulls out a cigar or a cigarette case in his pocket and just starts opening the clasp, closing it, flipping it over in his hands. Well, if you guys are gonna lead the way, I might as well make sure everything's all right. Just keep on moving, and we'll find a way out of here, I'm sure.
Well,
Howard hands the candle back.
Thank you. Stay close. I don't want to lose anyone. Oliver, his knees are shaking, but he proceeds in. I am the light source, apparently, on this map. So you said there are some slight cracks, and I can see in the dynamic lighting there's some slight cracks in the wall. Is there anything we can
Yeah.
investigate there?
You can tell without even a roll that there are some dark, empty spaces. Yes, like here and right around here, and on the opposite wall, you can kind of peer. I mean, you see your light going in there just a little bit.
Mm-hmm. This is curious. You see these openings, Howard?
What's that there?
There's just something on the other side of this wall. I'm sure we'll work our way around to it.
Ooh,
What
that
are
doesn't
these
look.
almost?
Does that look man-made?
Are you gonna try to get a closer. What are you doing to determine? Do the cracks look man-made?
Yeah.
The hieroglyphics are definitely man-made. I would say that the cracks look like weak places in the wall that were perhaps plastered over, and so are cracking now with age.
Well, let's not dig there. We want to remain safe. We don't want this thing to collapse on us. let's proceed. Try not to touch too many things. Just looking around to see what we find. What is this? I seem to be coming upon.
It's just odd that you should mention. Don't want things to. He says that just a little bit of the dust and some tiny little pebbles kind of fall from the ceiling, from the walls. Nothing too disturbing, but it does remind you that you're in an old place that is not extremely sturdy.
Edmund perhaps puts away the cigarette case and pulls out maybe a handkerchief or something, covers his mouth to protect it from the dust. We really do need to find a way out of this place.
As you get closer to the end of the hallway, you see the vague shapes of furniture or other objects. You see here is a portion of wall that looks like part of it has either been dug away or has fallen away. And so there's a dark hole there that it is just large enough that someone could crouch and crawl through. Howard, are you taking a look at the hieroglyphics, or are you guys looking at what's everyone looking at right now?
Oliver was proceeding ahead, not wanting to touch the hieroglyphs, the cracks in the wall that seemed like maybe they might have structural purpose. He didn't want to touch them.
Right.
And just moving ahead to investigate this little space.
Yeah, if there's anything that he can read, he'll definitely try reading something and deciphering anything.
Edmund is looking over the furniture, wondering how much of a price it could catch.
Okay. Why don't you roll hieroglyphs again for me?
Dang.
Oh, hard success. Okay. The etchings seem to tell a story. They depict a pharaoh who appears to possess great powers. The story kind of started early on, and so you're kind of having to chase Oliver on the light, but even so, your expertise allows you to get the gist. So a pharaoh with great powers beyond those of ordinary mortals. The disjointed images on the panels show him smiting people, maybe people who don't follow him. It's hard to tell. And he leaves a trail of corpses as you follow this fresco down the wall.
Does he give his name at all?
It does not.
He's not going to comment on that at the moment. He'll keep that. He'll keep that to himself, and but he will kind of whisper out loud. They'll probably hear him say, "What is your name?" As he's looking at the words, and then he looks over at the candle. Is the candle moving and flickering at all, or is it just totally still?
Doesn't seem to be catching any sort of a breeze. As you guys are here at the end, you see that this does look like it's been dug out.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a golden chest, a small golden chest, an ornate little table, and maybe a couple of other little items that are hard to discern what exactly they are. But over here, right in front of this doorway.
Well, as Edmund is currently looking over all the furniture and stuff to see how much it will fetch a price when they finally make it out of there. I'm sure he would be quite interested in the gold chest.
Yeah. The table looks like the bottom of it is rotted away. Why don't you roll an appraise? I'm just curious on how detailed your knowledge of this is going to be. Okay. You're not an expert in relics and artifacts, but you know it's pure gold. I mean, you're very familiar with gold, and it's heavy enough that you can tell that's exactly what it is. As a matter of fact, you don't think you could carry this by yourself, even though it's small. Gold's very heavy. It's ornately decorated, and it looks like it's not locked and can be easily opened.
Well, of course, I'll open it.
Oh,
I need to
do
find
be
out.
careful.
Careful of what? Nothing in here seems to be alive or moving. It's just dirt and dust.
You might ruin the value if you damage it.
That is a fair point.
Here-
You open it. You're better with these old things than me.
Sure. Here, I realize I have more candles. If I'm the only one holding a candle, I will light candles for each of them because I have 4 of them in my bag.
Do you each want to hold a candle? The
Nah.
candles will last about an hour. That would just be something you
Something
know.
to consider. Or maybe if it only lasts an hour, I think I'll save those. He says, "Oh, please, hold this. I will hand the candle over to Edmund."
All right. I guess it's the least I can do for you.
I'll take my small brush and kind of very daintily brush it away. Surely this is real gold.
Of course it is. I've already I know that.
May I roll an appraise as well?
Sure.
Let's just see what we're looking at.
Okay.
Ooh, exactly.
The dynasty or the era that this comes from is extremely hard to find artifacts for, and it is pure gold and in absolutely immaculate condition. It's priceless.
Oh, Edmund, we found it! Oh, This is precious. This is precious. These artifacts have not been seen. This will fetch us our reward. Surely this is worth every penny of your investment. Oh, this is delightful.
Do you know how much I've spent on this? I would need to find 20 of these boxes, I'm sure.
Oh, I think this one box alone is worth the price of admission. And I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's more in here. Was there anything else around me? You said. Just
There
furniture?
was that table. There's a with the legs are kind of rotting from under it, but the top is ornately carved. There's what looks like kind of the rotted remains of a sack. Not old, actually. It kind of just looks like a burlap sack.
Huh. Well, allow me to look here. I would investigate the sack. Kind of giddy from the fact that I think we've struck gold, literally.
Did you open the box that I asked you to open?
Did I not open the box?
No, you didn't.
Ah.
Nobody said they opened the box.
Well, this is the golden box, right?
Yes.
And so I'm just excited about the outside of it. So before moving on, surely there's more inside. Again, a little bit giddy, a little bit telling him to be careful, and then I'm fairly reckless with excitement. This justifies everything. Opening the box and peering in. Hold the light close.
Here you go.
So
Can I open the box?
one person holds the candle close to the box, and the light kind of dims for Howard as you all are both kind of leaning in toward the box, blocking the light from his direction. At first, you see what you think are several, maybe 10 or 12 small white pearls. But as you kind of reach in to pick one up, and you hold it up closer to the candle, you see it's a very, very small tooth.
Oh. This is interesting. This might. Um, is there some kind of role? I don't know, like an archaeology role.
I think that this is, you don't always have to roll some
Sure,
things. You
I would just
just
know.
know.
Yeah.
Right. These are baby teeth.
Ah.
Like, not, I mean, I guess they could be from a baby, but what I mean by that is, the teeth you lose first.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Ah, interesting. These are baby teeth in here. This is. Are they all teeth? All of the. There's a small pile of them in here.
Yeah, it looks like a mouthful of baby teeth.
Ah.
No, one of them has a gold filling on it, actually.
Yeah, perhaps a museum somewhere will be interested in those, but the box is more important. Is there any writing on that you can see, Oliver?
He's gonna. Oh, no, go ahead.
Yeah, I would defer to Howard. As the one who reads all these ancient stuff.
Howard, you look at it, and it's decorated, but it's not hieroglyphs. It doesn't really say anything.
Yeah, he shakes his head. He's actually got like a really worried look on his face, and he seems to be pondering something else, like a little less interested in it for some reason, or maybe just. He says, "Why would they lock us in here with his treasures?"
I would assume so that we can't get them out of here, but we shall show them.
I'm sure it was all just an accident, and let's put this back where we found it. We'll retrieve it later.
Of course we will.
Ah, yes.
Now,
Yeah.
is there anything else in here that you guys can see of use or value?
You found the burlap sack, but other than that, there's not a whole lot out here.
Yeah, I might very carefully approach the sack and say, well, we might have struck gold twice. Kind of wiggling his fingers with excitement. Let's see what we have here.
Edmund's just going to take a drink from a flask of water.
You open it's quite a large sack, and it seems at first to be empty, but as you kind of reach to the bottom, you feel small, hard, round objects, and again you think, oh gosh, more teeth. But you pull them out and hold them up to the light, and they are small, dark little globes that you think are probably black pearls. Maybe they were part of a necklace at one point, but that's all that's in this sack. And the sack itself is not in great condition.
Sure. Well, we do have some remnants of some jewelry. This is also will fetch us quite a pretty penny, I'm sure.
Well, maybe you should put those in your pocket or something, just so that we don't lose them in the scuffle when we actually get out of here.
Sure. I might have a little cloth to fold them into. They're about the size of teeth, you said, right?
Yeah, they're just little pearls.
Sure. So I might actually pocket those for safekeeping, since the bag is worthless.
Great. Okay. Howard, you do see that there's some more hieroglyphs on this, although a large portion of this, which looks like it's sealed off the next area, at one point. A large part has been dug away, and the rubble is right here from it. Like, people carefully did that and made a little pile of rubble. But there's still some hieroglyphics there.
Yeah, he's going to be all about that. Checking the wall, if anything new, like written after the dead bodies in the wake of the pharaoh, if anything's written after that, and on the little pieces of rock, if you can piece anything together from those, any of the hieroglyphics on the rocks.
Why don't you go ahead and roll again, because this is harder to read since it's been damaged. Yeah, you can't really make out. I mean, you can tell that there might be some warning sigils similar to the door, the stone slab at the beginning, but it's just too. Maybe the people that came or whoever excavated this before, whoever put this hole here, kind of just pickaxed too much of the hieroglyphs to make it legible.
Yeah. What is this right here? Does that drop
That
off down there?
Okay, so that is it used to kind of seal this area from the next area, but someone has put a hole in it right here. So there's like a little crawlway tunnel that, adult person could squeeze through.
Howard will turn towards the others as they're doing their thing and say, "There's another passage over this way. We would have to crawl. Looks like it used to be another chamber over there."
Well, if we got to crawl, we got to crawl. But the question is, who goes first? And I just start looking at Oliver.
I don't mind. If I may, I extend my hand to retrieve the candle.
Of course. You will definitely need that.
Thank you.
Don't worry, we'll be close behind you.
Yes. Well.
You're probably the smallest one out of us all, so...
Yes, here we go. Get down on my knees and like crunching, walking through the crumbling through here, trying to be brave, knowing that there's more treasure in here. I feel like I've already justified everything, but it can only go uphill from here. We've got
Right.
Yeah, so I'm crawling
So
slowly.
you're crawling through holding this candle.
Very
Can you
slowly.
make a dexterity check?
Oh baby, how dare you?
Okay. So, well, it wasn't very hard. So it was actually at the +1 level. You're just trying not to drop your candle.
All right, I'll take it.
So as you crawl through, there's a moment where your sweaty hands kind of loose the candle, and you just barely grab it before it tips over.
Look. Oh, no problem. Keep working.
Oliver, are you alright up there?
Yes. I was just watch your head.
No, of course. Thank you for your concern.
May I proceed into the next room?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I will slowly poke my head into the next room, kind of hold the candle up before I crawl in.
Okay. From what you can see of this room, it's kind of filled to the brim with stacks of ancient artifacts that reach almost to the ceiling. Just from the corner of your eyes, you spot a couch, chairs, tables, stone tablets, some statuettes, maybe some musical instruments, tapestries, vases, sealed jars.
Oh, jackpot!
bowls,
Jackpot,
all
gentlemen! Jackpot! I will continue to crawl through and stand up and start to look around, not even waiting for them.
What did you find, Oliver?
All kinds of things. I list off all the things you said.
As Oliver starts to move into the room, you two are left in
In the dark.
darkness.
I'm not even thinking about it. I'm just excited.
Yep.
Can we at least still see the opening for us to go through?
Yes, you can see the light from the next room, right?
Okay.
So.
You can see, you see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Alright.
Can you move
I'm
your
gonna
token
go ahead
now?
and proceed in.
Yeah. Okay.
You both crawl through.
Oh
As
wow.
Howard crawls through, a little bit of debris is loosened from one of the walls, but you're fine.
Look at this. Look, it's fascinating. Look, is this some kind of tapestries over here?
Slow down, Oliver. You're our only light.
Oh,
Let us all bask in the glory
Okay.
of your find.
I apologize. Let's begin here in this corner.
I should say, my find.
Of course.
You're definitely going to get some credit for this, though. Holy hell! Oh,
Some of
this
the
is
really
so
interesting
magical.
things you see, this is a chariot that looks like it's made of gold. Obviously a boat for someone to ride into the afterlife. Oliver,
Wow.
as you kind of walk a little bit in this direction, you
To the
think you
east?
might see another opening on the north wall.
Ah, yes. Oh wow. It's like a statues or sorry, this room is fun art.
Okay.
Are you guys in the dark or is it just my
Yeah, I don't know. Can you see around Oliver?
Can you guys see yourselves?
Yeah, we can see everything that you see.
Okay, so
Yeah,
so you can't see yourselves.
Yeah, you're emitting light.
Yeah.
Perhaps we could find us some torches or something in this room so that we don't have to rely on Oliver.
Also, you see when you go here to the east, it looks like there's a huge stone slab that's blocking an archway, probably to another chamber. And on
Wow.
either side were two large statues standing guard.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I might share a candle. I will offer it to Edmund, since I know Howard's the one who knows what's going on. But again, I'm trying to impress Edmund. So
Hold on to your candle. Let's just look around and see if we can't find some torches or something.
All right, why
We
don't
might
you
need
do
those
spot
candles
hidden?
later.
There's a lot of stuff in this room to look through. Anybody who's looking for a torch can make that roll.
Yes. Definitely. If I don't find a torch, I might have to ask for a candle.
spot hidden.
Okay, so Edmund, you got an extreme success. So I will say that you do find over here, you find what looks like an actual lantern, like a modern lantern.
There it
Oliver,
is.
bring
With
that candle over
oil in
here.
it.
I have a new lantern. What is this doing among all of these relics?
Perhaps
I
one of the
said-
workers left it here accidentally.
But we're supposed to be the first ones in here. How could there be any workers?
I knew it.
Knew what, Howard?
As I said before, we were not the first here.
Well, when we get these riches out, perhaps we will be the last. So I use Oliver's candle to, of course, light this lantern.
Well, you
I
should
wonder
all-
how much fuel is inside of this.
You take a look. Not a lot. Maybe a couple hours. Some of it has maybe spilled out, but still, those oil lanterns are fairly efficient. If you don't crank it up too much.
All right, this is a much better lighting situation. Howard, why don't you go ahead and read some things, and Oliver, find out how. I don't know what you archaeologists do. Just do your thing, and I'm gonna take a little look around and see if I can't find anything interesting. Maybe perhaps some tools or some sort of things to help us get out of here, because we're going to have to either bust that rock or continue on.
I
Right.
we'll need some light.
Of course. I'll stay near you while I'm searching, but I'm going to be doing my thing.
Oliver whips out a notebook and starts just taking notes of all the things he finds, just to have some idea after he leaves that he can report back.
Okay. I'm gonna have Edmund roll a spot hidden.
I
I'm
already
gonna have
rolled one for
Oliver
you.
roll an archaeology and an appraise. Howard, I don't know if you have archaeology or appraise. You would probably just be doing hieroglyphics.
No archaeology, no appraisal, very low, and yeah, he'll probably just be doing the hieroglyphics on the walls.
Oliver just picking up random things and inspecting them
Oh,
and
these are some good successes.
taking
Okay.
notes.
Um, Oliver, you're starting to feel a little baffled. There are a few things that you recognize the period of Egyptian history from which they came, similar to that rare chest,
Mm-hmm.
but some of them you just can't place at all. Like you know that they're Egyptian, but they don't really bear any resemblance to a known period of Egyptian history, and you're very familiar, so
Mm.
that's really confusing you.
Yeah, this is very odd. That you see how Howard's most of these things are from the this particular dynasty, but there are other odds and ends. Where do you reckon? Oh, I don't know, but it's fuel for research. We'll really publish something out of this. It's strange, so strange.
Edmund, I think you rolled sleight of hand instead of spot hidden.
Oh,
Nice.
Howard, as you're reading the hieroglyphics here, it seems like pretty standard fare. He who enters, let none disturb this tomb, this resting place, blah, 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 blah. Just warnings. It's actually not talking about the pharaoh in this room at all. It's more some depictions of everyday life in Egypt and, some warnings, not, that this is a holy place, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Okay, nothing too interesting.
Yeah, nothing too interesting. You do also think, though, that the hieroglyphics themselves, they feel like they're in an odd dialect. They don't feel you don't feel like you really, like, it takes you a little while to get through them because they're ordered differently. Some of the animals are depicted in a slightly different way, and it takes you a minute to recognize them. So you do think that this is an unusual sort of tomb, regardless, probably from some period you're not terribly familiar with.
So he'll agree with who is it that said that?
Oliver.
Oliver. Yeah, he'll agree with Oliver then after he makes that assessment. And he says, I agree, old chap. All of this. It's in a dialect. It's unusual. It's certainly not your average tomb.
Oliver's scribbling in his notes. Unique dialect. This is odd.
Well, Edmund, with your extreme success on spot hidden, you are looking around this room, and there's so much to look at. And, you kind of, everything seems to be kind of piled up here or here or here. And it's just, kind of irritating you at first that, you kind of have to almost gently dig through piles to see what's there. And then you realize that you're coming across things that have been broken, and you see drag marks on the ground. And you come to the conclusion that these things, some of them have been dragged from another room or just kind of piled up carelessly by someone here. This does not look like, it looks like, if you can see drag marks, then that must not be, 1,000 years old. And it strikes you as brutish, careless work that's been done. That so many things that might actually have value are broken.
Chaps,
Hmm.
you do see all these marks and these drag marks and all the stuff that somebody has broken everywhere. I mean, everything is. None of this stuff was originally in this room, I don't think. I mean, you can see that the boat was clearly dragged from somewhere. I mean, that's probably why this wall is broken.
Huh. He's
I
right.
still can't seem to find any tools or anything that might help us get out of here.
Oliver, when you went over
Oh,
closer
sure.
to this side,
Mm-hmm.
you do note again that this looks like it's been sealed. And you get kind of a better look at these two statues.
Mm-hmm.
And once you're closer, you can tell that they're mummified men that have been impaled on long spears to hold them upright.
Oh, jeez.
And if that wasn't gruesome enough, their heads have been replaced, one with that of a crocodile and the other with that of a jackal.
Oh,
So you need to
fun.
roll sanity.
Of course I do. Ooh, good roll.
Oh, you got it this time. So how does Oliver react?
Oliver is really struck by this. Um, Again, looking at the floor mainly to see where things have been dragged around, and realize, oh, these are mummified, and then oh, they're impaled. Oh, there's a head. Wait, gentlemen, come look at this. It's very freaked out, but steely, as steely as Oliver gets. Gentlemen, so there's something very, very strange about these. These are not statues. These are mummies.
Oh, do you think we could perhaps bring them to a museum?
Oh, I don't. I think they're.
Why in the world does that thing have a crocodile's head and a jackal's? Is this some sort of thing to go with those gods you were telling me about the other day?
They are somewhat reminiscent of the gods. Have I ever seen mummies like this before?
Not like this.
Yeah.
I mean, know that there's, I believe it's Set that is the crocodile head,
Mm-hmm.
and Anubis has a jackal's head. So it might be, some representation, but it is certainly gruesome. One of them holds a sickle-like sword, the jackal,
Mm-hmm.
a khopesh, and the crocodile holds an Egyptian battle axe.
Hmm.
They
Yes.
both, I mean, you can tell now that you're both over there that actually the weapons look to be a little tarnished with age, but actually, like most of the things in this room are in good condition, including those weapons.
Hmm.
So I looked it up. It's Sebek or Sobek
Ah,
Yeah.
is the
Alligator head.
crocodile.
Yeah. Yeah. It seems like they represent these ancient deities, but I don't know why they are impaled here.
Do you think we can move these weapons without damaging them?
We could wait for the crew to handle that.
I'd rather have something on hand. I haven't been able to find any tools yet. Maybe that axe would come in handy.
well,
Could
you
you,
can make an attempt, or someone can. I'll call that, if Oliver does it, I would call that practical archaeology. If anybody else does it, a straight up dex check. Or if Oliver would prefer to do a dex check.
How's Oliver's dex? Not as good as you said, archaeology.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's where he excels. I always feel like I need to be convinced to do this, but again, trying to impress. If you want to look at the weapons more closely, or
just check to see first if we can't remove them without damaging these mummies. We don't want to bring damaged mummies to any sort of museum.
of course, I will take a look at this one with the khopesh, right? The jackal head,
Mhm.
and very delicately try and pull it straight up through the hands, very delicately. my archaeology check.
Oh, you do. You guys are kind of impressed. Oliver has seemed so,
Freaked
kind
out.
of flighty, but his real expertise shines through as he gently, just very slowly pries the fingers open from the sword enough that he's able to lift it out of the grip without even snapping a finger off or anything. And after a moment, you're holding that khopesh, and yes, it feels like it's in pretty good condition, and the mummy has not been damaged.
Wow. This
Well done.
oh, this is quite a find, I'm sure. I will take this weapon and kind of gently place it onto some other table or something, or everything's like an artifact. Maybe I'll just
Right.
rest it gently on the ground. Goes to the corner. He says, "Well, the mummy is still intact."
Edmund walks up and just carelessly grabs the knife that he just, or the khopesh that he just so gently set down.
He says, "Careful now."
I mean, it's a khopesh. It's metal. It's knife. It'll be just fine.
It's that much less money for the find, but sure.
We've got all these relics here. I do not think we'll miss too much from a khopesh.
This is fair.
Howard nods. Howard nods and says, "Might have to use it on those natives locked us in here."
Oh,
Yes, wouldn't that be a nice turn of phrase?
Oh, they're
Handle them with their ancestors' weapons.
Oliver just laughs nervously. He doesn't want to any violence to come to the workers, but he doesn't want to defy these two gentlemen either.
Edmund walks over to the wall that is blocked off, trying to discover why it might be blocked off or how it might be blocked off, or to see if there's a way around it.
There's a tightly fitted stone slab in that portion. There's also no hieroglyphics on that part of the wall.
Well, gentlemen, I don't think we're going to find a way out through this way. If you're done in this room, maybe we should venture on. We still need to find a way out. Unless you guys have found a way out in this room.
Indeed, we should look further in.
Howard just starts walking to the opening. But before he goes through there, he's just going to kind of carefully look in the next room to see if he can't see anything.
Why don't you do a spot hidden? He's good at that. Okay. Peering through, you can tell it's a smaller room. You do see that there are some artifacts in there, not, crazy filled like this room is. Let's see, just peering in, you could probably see on the north wall. You see hieroglyphics. Oh, okay.
What was the other
You
weapon
can
that
see
was?
an axe, a battle axe.
Oh man.
You see a large mural on the wall ahead.
Oliver, all those books and things about people raiding tombs, searching tombs for relics, is there any fact to the booby traps that are laid?
Is that a roll for me, or?
No. I would say, there's been reports of a few, but they're mostly myth.
Yeah. This is my. There's always talk, but I do believe it's mostly just superstition. I've never seen traps. It's mostly just inscribed warnings of, divine retribution, but nothing to be scared of, he says, like, scared.
Now, from when Edmund was cautiously peering through the room, he just starts walking in.
As you walk in, you see over here a body on the ground. You see an inverted ankh here. Looks like some sort of large inverted ankh on some sort of pedestal with golden tendrils reaching out from the symbol. You see a huge colorful mural on this side, and for a moment it almost looks like it's moving, but you know, after you peer at it, you think it's probably just a trick of the light of your lantern flickering.
I figure since I found the body, you run a sanity check.
No. I mean, it probably startles you, but it's like a skeleton. It's not like super gory or anything, and you're in a tomb, so I think that maybe you'd be startled by it, but with a sanity as good as Edmund's, I think he probably takes it in stride.
Oliver, I don't want you getting scared when you enter this room. There's a body, but Howard, I think you might find some murals and things rather interesting in here.
Indeed, I should take a look. He seemed interested in wanting to take that axe off the wall too, but he comes in here.
You probably had time to do that if you wanted to try to do that while they
Yeah,
were...
he'll take it off. I think purposefully waiting for them to like not be looking.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
Why don't you
I'll
make
come
a
in here and
dex check just to see how damaged the mummy gets? Oh, you already did.
Nice.
Good. You use some of the technique that you saw Oliver use, and slides out easily.
I laugh.
Of course. No, I can do
I'm
it.
not gonna notice you're holding a giant axe when you walk into the room.
Yeah.
See, I'm not the only one who thought a weapon might be at hand.
It just makes you men feel better.
Yeah.
You all sort of have that same eerie impression as you walk into the room, you know, taken aback by that giant mural, and have this instant where you feel like there's some sensation of movement from it, but that fades very quickly.
This is odd. I've never seen a mural like this before.
Yes. It's a pretty picture. Looks like some sort of grass growing out of a city or something. Water covering everything. But what about this body? Edmund is going to kneel down and take a look at the body laying on the ground. There seems to be some things beside it he wants to take a look at.
All right, what's everybody looking at? I'm going to start with Edmund. What are you looking at?
The body laying
And
in the ground.
Oliver, what are you looking at?
Well, Oliver was first struck by the thing, but once he said body, that's more Oliver's expertise. He's definitely interested in that as well. I would ask Howard to investigate the painting while I turn around and also kind of look over the body and mainly warn Edmund not to touch it. To be careful as we inspect it.
Yeah, Howard was gonna come in and show off his axe and say something, but then he did. He saw the mural and was, interested in it. He did take notice of the body and stuff, but that was something that they were gonna find, no doubt. But he's definitely interested in this, and he's looking for that pharaoh again.
Yeah. So as you walk toward it, there's flickering light from the candle and from the lantern, and again, your stomach lurches, almost a kind of seasick feeling watching it. The mural depicts this scene of an Egyptian city being attacked by an army of horrific beings. There are two types of creatures that kind of stand out, those with the bodies of men and the heads of animals who are holding various weapons, and those with the bodies of animals and the heads of men. Do you have Cthulhu Mythos as a skill? Yeah, most people have very, very low Cthulhu Mythos, but there's a chance you would recognize that, so you can roll that.
Yeah, 0% for me.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. I have 0.
Oh, 0. Okay. There's black tendrils bursting from the ground and sky, tearing the city and everyone in it apart. Some of the creatures are bent over, eating corpses, you're pretty sure, that have been laid upon tables, while others have their hands and heads raised to the sky in some sort of demented, frolicking madness. There's a pharaoh robed entirely in black, and he's depicted with an impossibly dark face, and he's seated atop a pyramid-like throne, borne by the hybrid monsters. He's being carried through the horrific scene, and you sense this triumph. Can you make a sanity roll? All right. You take 3 points of sanity loss. So as you're gazing at this mural, you're just really sucked in. It's almost like you're suddenly watching a movie, you know? So can you describe Howard's reaction? What this experience is like?
Yeah, I think Howard at first is holding the axe in both hands, and then as he's looking over the mural and kind of starting to understand a little bit, taking it all in, his mouth is agape, and they probably take notice of the axe head dropping out of his hand and kind of chipping into the ground, and then cluttering to the ground. And as he starts to point at the pharaoh on the top and kind of follow his finger along the wall, he looks back to the others. His eyes are very wide and his mouth is still agape. This is something totally different from the history books.
You alright, old boy? What's going on? What are you talking about? History books and very different.
This is showing some type of biblical event. It was never recorded. Any other tombs or any other things that I've seen, any other books. This couldn't be real.
I mean, there is always things that are unexplained in this world. Perhaps it just was forgotten.
Perhaps it's just a new myth that we have not yet read about before. And Oliver will go and take a look at it. And this is very odd indeed.
You, unless you have Cthulhu Mythos.
I
you
do
can roll
not.
that. Okay. Then you kind of, as you look at it more closely, you kind of have this similar experience where it's like suddenly your vision narrows and focuses, and it's like you're kind of sucked in to this mural. And even though the pictures aren't moving, it's like you can see the figures moving. You can feel the terror of the people being slaughtered. You can feel the infernal glee of the creatures eating the people that are on the altars, and it's very intense and very involving. So you need to make a sanity check.
Oh man! So I had a question about that too, because I lost the 1 sanity earlier, and I think I'm losing more now. How do we document that in our sheet?
Okay,
Yeah.
the blue bubble.
The blue bubble.
Ah, so I already lost 1 earlier. So
So let me see how many you take this time. 2.
By the way, Edmund is just still looking at the
Body.
trying
He's
to
not
figure out.
interested in murals.
Yeah.
Okay. So first, what's Oliver's reaction? Because this is
Oliver feels like he might be sick, just for the kind of a motion sickness thing, and again his eyes will roll back and he might just fall down right next to the skeleton, if not on it.
yeah. Ed, you're kneeling down to examine the skeleton, and suddenly Oliver just kind of flops down on the ground next to you.
Edmund, seeing him nearly fall onto the skeleton, he sort of shoves him away midair. Then he falls on the ground.
Away from the skeleton.
I don't know how much a skeleton will bring, but I'm sure you don't want to crush it, whatever you archaeology types like to do with bones. While he's looking at the skeleton, does he happen to find anything of value or interest?
You kneel down and you examine the skeleton. One thing you notice is that the clothing is not, it's intact. The figure does not appear to be positioned ritually. Like, it just looks like some body on the ground. And the clothing looks fairly modern. I mean, as, you know, a master of fashion, he would probably recognize it as something that's a good 10 to 15 years out of date.
Well, it appears
Also-
we weren't the first one here.
You do find a small sack next to the body, too.
This isn't anything of any sort of archaic worth. It's just a skeleton of somebody that's been here for maybe 15, 20 years. Wonder if there's any goodies in his bag. So he'll reach over and grab the bag and start rummaging through it.
It's filled with gold and bronze jewelry, almost certainly from this tomb. You also find in a satchel a trowel, a small shovel, a flask half filled with water that smells terrible, a German passport, a stick of dynamite, and a leather-bound journal written in some language that you don't know.
Yeah. A German passport.
So that was a trowel, dynamite, half-filled flask. The German passport. Alright, Howard. There's this German. I think it's German. Probably some Nazi was here. Would you mind, Howard, why are you still looking at that painting?
You notice Howard is still looking at it, but he did actually stop to make sure that Oliver is still conscious.
Yeah, Oliver, you do start to come to.
Yeah, Oliver's shakes it off, and he probably cartoonishly looks at the skeleton and like shrieks in horror and realizes where he is and has to get back to his senses. Yes, thank you. I'm so sorry. I must have fallen. This Jack just dust himself off. Yes?
Sorry, old chap. This is
Here, look at this book. I don't know if you all speak German. I certainly don't. There's this passport here and this diary, but I will be taking this dynamite and stuff from him. This corpse, this body, this skeleton is nothing of archaic value. Just some German. I don't know. But, you know, you guys do what you do with that book, and,
yeah, can I inspect the body? Is it from a modern person? If the journal's in German, but is the person...
Can you can roll archaeology or first aid or medicine.
I do speak German.
Oh, jeez. I will push to roll again on my archaeology roll, which means taking a -1 to my blue. Is that right?
Not your blue, your
Oh, my green.
your green.
Thank you. I'm just gonna re-roll that archaeology again, because...
There we
Yeah.
go. Okay, you made it. You can tell that this is not an ancient skeleton. You think it probably passed within the past 10 years, although, being preserved in a tomb, it's can make it difficult to tell. You see there's small indentations in the bone. You would call them almost animal teeth marks, but I don't know, maybe he took some injuries in battle at some point.
No, this is certainly not original. This skeleton is from a modern man.
that's what I said.
Yes, you're right.
Howard, are you reading the journal?
He is going to be looking to the journal.
Are you going to read it out loud, or do you want me to give it to you first?
Give it to me first, and
Okay.
I could read it to them, I guess.
Okay, well, I will put it in your journal.
Is that a pain in the butt for you? I mean, you could.
No, not
you
at
can
all.
open it to
Nope,
everybody.
I just put it in your journal. I kind of like you being able to. There's a few different pages. Start on the first.
While he is reading that, Edmund has lost all interest in the skeleton, since he's gotten all things of value, and is moving on to looking at the altar, or whatever this thing is.
Okay.
Yeah, the Ankh.
Rogue, you should have all 4 pages now, so tell me if you don't see any of them, okay?
I do see them.
Okay. Well, I will let you read those while I tell him what he sees at the
Okay.
altar. The shrine. It looks like a little shrine. Like I said, it's an inverted ankh. At the base of it, there's like 100 tiny statues of men that are standing around at the base of the shrine. Oliver, you know these are called shopti. They're small funerary statuettes intended to act as servants in the afterlife.
Yeah.
You also know that, I mean, this is basic knowledge, so I won't make you roll, that an ankh is a symbol of life, of eternal life, and for it to be inverted is probably some sort of desecration.
It's very strange. This is like it's the proper funerary statues here, but the Ankh is upside down. This is it's meant to some sort of disrespect, some sort of to spit in the face of eternal life. Or to condemn somebody is I believe the intention of whoever set this up this way. But again, these weren't ancient people who did this. This man is. What does the journal say, Howard?
You can tell he's kind of enthralled in the journal at the moment, and he looks over back to Edmund. Do you have this passport?
Yes, I do. Here you go. He walks over and hands it to Howard.
Passport belongs to a Sasha Karner, born in 1880 in Berlin.
Then he looks over at the body on the ground, and he nods. He says, well, I can decipher the diary for you if you like. 7th August, 1916. Word has reached us of fierce fighting north. Close to the Suez Canal, our men are scared enough, as it is without the fear of being killed in any crossfire. Their superstitious beliefs have delayed the dig more than once, and I do not care for any further stoppages. We dig tirelessly through the loose sand and rock. We are close. 3rd of September. Today was glorious. We have found the entrance. Removing the doorway was difficult, but we created a pulley system that allowed us entry. More work greets us inside. Limestone chips have clogged the entirety of the tunnel. I have halted the removal of the stones until I have surveyed the structure and documented what we have learned thus far. Sutton thinks my meticulous records are unnecessary and time-consuming. The 1st of December. Finally, the tunnel is now almost clear. Some of the workers have taken a great interest in the damaged hieroglyphics in the passageway. Today we remove the last of the stone chips and explore. The stonework looks unsafe. It may be too risky to use the explosives. He starts to look around the tomb. It's that sound. The 3rd of December, last entry. Sutton is dead. The local labor attacked us, and he broke his neck when he refused to be forced inside the tomb. Beware the children of the Sphinx. I plan on waiting a couple of hours in the hope that they will have gone. I'll gather some of the jewelry and then make my escape. This place will not be my tomb. I can hear noises. Something else is in here with me.
Something else?
Howard is gonna close the diary and put it in his jacket pocket, and then pick up the axe.
As your eyes lift from that journal, you're facing this, at Edmund and the southern wall, and you notice the other mural there, and it's a smiling black-robed pharaoh holding an oversized set of scales. You see a heart being weighed against a platter of dead animals. There's a kneeling figure with the head of a wolf that has a chest wound that is being stretched open by 2 small men. There's some hieroglyphics below the painting. But between the mural on the north wall and reading this journal, a chill goes up your spine looking at that mural.
Oh, there is some hieroglyphics on there.
Uh-huh.
He's gonna try to inspect that.
Oh, your hieroglyphics. Okay. Underneath the mural and to the side, you read something to the effect of, "The trial has been passed. Forever they shall be tied to this earth through their faithful beating heart, strong of body, awaiting the return of their master.
Ugh. This has to be some work of some strange cult tied to this pharaoh.
Oliver, you recognize scales as part of traditional, Egyptian mythology, that they believe that when they die, their heart is weighed against a feather.
Mm-hmm.
This seems to be some sort of strange desecration of that. A heart being weighed against a platter of dead animal. You don't know exactly what that creature with the head of a wolf, that's chest is being stretched open by men. It could be a representation of Anubis or Set.
This isn't right. This is something very odd. I don't understand it. But this I'm sorry, is Sasha a man or a woman? Do we? I don't say this person.
Probably a man.
Okay. I say, this man probably just died of starvation upon being stranded here. There's no one and nothing else in here. It's just us and a bunch of relics. Perhaps we should return to the front and await the crew to remove the stone.
I don't think they're moving the stone for us.
Wait, what is that?
What is what?
You hear that?
That is exactly what you hear.
That's awesome. See, they've removed the stone right now.
All right. Edmund starts walking forward.
Wait,
What?
this mural ad warns us about this. What if these people locked us in here? They still believe in this god.
Well, they might believe in a god, but we need to get out of here before we run out of food and water ourselves. One way or another, we need to survive.
You start to hear a strange growling noise.
If we heard that.
Yes.
Howard shits himself.
Edmund
All right,
walks
so
back
as
into the
you
room.
peek into the room, Edmund, you glimpsed something. Hold on.
Hearing the growl, though, Edmund would go back into the room.
Howard's definitely got the axe.
Edmund would have readied the Kopesh when retreating into the room.
You saw, as you had kind of peeked into the room, that this large slab had been pushed into the room.
I don't think that was the front slab being moved, gentlemen.
Sorry, open them up.
The large stone blocking our way seems to have moved.
Howard's gonna start, I think, whispering a little bit, and kind of hug the wall, his back to the wall, the axe in his hands. And what is it? Do you see it?
I don't know what moved it. It was moved. Oh my God! What in the? Edmund begins
You hear
to
something
walk
moving
back.
in the other room.
Wow, that's awesome. Good work on the sound effects, by the way.
Gentlemen, how do you want to proceed here?
Oliver will yell out in Arabic, "Enough is enough." He stops talking right away.
Howard's gonna look at him like incredulously, like, "You just gave away our position." He's got his head in it. Howard is scared and terrified and like kind of hiding in the corner there, trying to listen to where the whatever that is position is.
You see something just kind of a long, huge claw kind of reach through the doorway and growl in frustration. And then it
kind of
retreats back, and you hear the footsteps again.
Edmund's gonna kind of peek his head around the corner and try to catch a glimpse of this being. Gentlemen, I think whatever is out there is rather large by the sound of it.
Indeed. Perhaps you could write it a check. Ask it to leave us alone.
Perhaps you could speak to it in Egyptian and get it to obey your command or something. I have no clue. Sooner or later, we're going to have to leave this room. So we need to have a plan.
Damn. What was the name of that pharaoh? What did they call it? They didn't give it a name, did they?
Nope, they didn't give it a name.
But you can see actually when you say that though, he like he's trying to like formulate an idea or some kind of plan.
You hear the footsteps kind of getting a little bit farther away from the room, maybe toward the way you guys had originally come in.
Which gonna go for it?
Edmund is going to ease his way out into the opening.
And try to sneak by into the passage it came from, I guess.
Let me know when you guys can see it.
Yeah, I don't see anything.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can't see anything.
Not yet. No.
We're gonna try to go toward that hallway. Is that the thinking?
Yeah, we
You
still don't see
hear
it.
the sound of claws scraping against stone, and again, some sort of roar. And then a possibly an even more disturbing sound of rocks and stone crumbling. You can feel bits and pieces from the ceiling falling on your head, but you probably think maybe it's trying to break through that little archway over there.
The front way we came in.
Yeah.
Thanks. So,
Guys, I think we should keep moving.
Are you all trying to be quiet?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can I get a stealth roll?
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Yes.
Howard.
As little bits and pieces of the ceiling and walls crumble,
Ugh.
your feet kind of slip and slide on it, and you hear that roar again as you attract the attention of this creature, and it stomps forward into the edge of your vision.
What the hell is that?
Run, guys!
And you see it. I'll give you a picture.
Oh my god.
That's super gnarly.
The dynamite.
It's draped in decaying linen. Its skin is slick with pus and bile, which pours out through large open sores. Its head is that of a large golden wolf, whose eyes glow red with a burning and maddened hatred. For all life, you're pretty sure.
That's awesome.
So let's have some initiative. Everybody roll initiative.
Howard the
Oh.
Barbarian.
I'm sorry. Is there a way to roll initiative, or is it automatic?
It's on your macro.
Yeah,
It'll
but the
say
top-
It's the first one.
Oh, very first. Gotcha.
Alright. So I'm trying to see what good on this system, low or high. I think because the creature has to act. So high is good.
Interesting.
Oh, cool. For initiative, high is good, huh?
So Howard, you go first.
Sweet. Does the light right here show a passage this way, or is that?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I? Can you
Yeah.
see that?
We
Can you
couldn't
see a
see the whole.
passage?
We couldn't see the whole opening yet.
Let me go fix that. Maybe there's something on the dynamic lighting layer. Yeah. Right.
Awesome.
There you go.
Nice. I think Howard is going to start moving this way.
All right.
Um,
So, yeah, you can either move like,
Is there a certain amount of
to
movement?
here, or and do an examination, or you can move double that basically.
Ugh. Should I make like some sort of fear check to see how afraid he is?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Everybody needs to make a sanity check.
Obviously.
Thank you. All right.
Edmund rolled 100.
Oh my god, he did shit his pants.
All right, so Edmund, you fumbled. Oh, do you want to push this roll?
I do.
Okay. Anybody could try to push it, but something worse will happen if you fail. Okay, so Edmund, you literally start to poop your pants, but you tighten that sphincter.
Right on time.
This is not the boy my mother raised.
Shit your fancy
And
pants.
you managed to pull it together. Howard, you fail.
I definitely failed. I'm just gonna keep my fail, I believe, and just run double
Okay,
movement.
so
I
you
think.
took 3 points of sanity loss, but you're not doing anything useful. Like what do you do? How do you react? Like maybe you just run, but you have temporary insanity, basically.
Yeah. I think he's just when he hears that sound, it's horrible, and he's, the hair stands up on the back of his neck, and he's just running, probably blindly at this point,
Just
into
straight for the dark.
into that chamber, yeah, and
All right.
trying to get as far away as possible.
Well, I'm gonna put you like far against this wall.
Okay.
And Oliver, you take 3 points of sanity. How many points total have you taken?
Total? I don't know how high I started. It was 1 + 2 + 3. Yeah, so total of 6.
Okay, you're still sane, but temporarily insane. So, Well, Oliver, what are you going to be doing this round?
Well, it's so funny. I clicked on. I see that there's a roll for bouts of madness, and it suggested I faint. I'm like, come on, not again.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that happens.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
I think he wants to run, and instead his legs just lock up, and he just face plants into the dirt.
Okay.
Oliver, you're useless. I swear.
Edmund, you go before the creature.
So Edmund is just between the creature and looking disappointedly at Oliver. He's just...
You
What
got
the
an
hell?
extreme success, so you can really do whatever you think you want to do, not just what is reasonable.
Edmund is going to open the lantern's fill spout and chuck it at this creature, seeing that it's in these tattered dry linens and the skin is just dry and cracking and filled with bile and pus, hoping this thing is extremely flammable.
Oh, okay. Click on Rock Throne. It's a very large creature, so I'm gonna give you 2 levels of bonus on this because A, it's big, and yeah, it's just really hard to miss. So, go ahead.
Rock throne.
And depending on how bad you beef it, I'll say where it actually lands.
Trying to find it on the character sheet.
That's a good idea.
It's the 3rd thing: initiative, knife small, Rock Throne.
Oh, okay, there it is. Yes.
Oh, wow! Hard success. Direct hit.
Nice.
Okay. So just from impact, it does 1 point of damage. But I'm gonna let you roll 2d6
Nice.
because this is fire,
Nice.
and it is a mummy. The creature roars in you don't know if it's pain or just rage as the lamp hits it and straight in the torso, and the oil soaks in and flames start to spread all over it. It flails at its chest wildly this turn, trying to make the fire go away. And that was so good. That was a hard success. I'm going to let Oliver and Howard have time to recover. Edmund, you can take another action. This creature is just going to be busy with the fire for a round or 2. And Oliver and Howard, you can come out of your temporary
Nice.
insanity.
That was badass.
Edmund is going
just inspired you guys.
to take the time to kind of smack Oliver on the cheek, telling him to wake up. And that's actually how I want to use my turn, just waking up Oliver.
And it totally works. Oliver
Yeah, it
wakes
slaps him
up.
awake.
You see, it smells something horrible is like your first impression when you wake up is, what is that smell of burning hair and rot and smoke and horribleness? And then you see out of the corner of your eye past Edmund this flailing monster
On fire.
engulfed in fire.
Edmund would also at this point tell him, we need to find a way to get into that room and use this creature to shut that stone back. Get up, Oliver. We need to do this.
Use the creature. Oliver's just kind of crawling away from it. He says, well, we start by going into the room away from the creature. That's what Oliver would. It's not my turn, or
Sure, you guys can take a couple of movements and actions while the
Sure.
creature
Yeah,
busy putting out the flames. Howard, as you start to come out of it, I want you to roll a listen check.
Okay.
I mean, you hear that. You don't have to roll the check.
Good ears.
All right. So I was giving you a bonus on this, Howard, because you were standing right here in the dark. And this is what kind of brings you out of it, actually, is that you start to hear this. Coming from somewhere in the room.
Oh man, I think Howard would initially still kind of freaked out. Maybe not like run, jump off a building scared, since he probably hears the creature flailing, right, and on fire.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not going to play that sound effect over and over, but it is
Right.
roaring and stomping and
So
obviously out there.
he can't really do much in the total dark, so I think he's going to run back this way to see what's going on. He's still got the axe in his hand. I don't know, and he's in the light right here.
Yeah.
And I think I don't know how far he can run, but probably at least to there. Yeah. That was 10.
All right. I think I'm going to start at the top of the initiative order again now.
Okay.
So, Howard, what are you going to do?
And he sees them. I don't know if he can see past this. Probably not.
You see, I mean, this creature's so big that you see movement and stuff occasionally flailing past it, but you
Okay.
don't really see it well.
Maybe the flames on its arms. or
Shadows
something.
from the
yeah.
fire.
And he'll look to them and he'll be like, "There's something in here. Something in the dark."
Well, it has to be better than this.
And he
I'll-
is going to stand right here facing the darkness with his axe, kind of a defensive type of stance, I guess, hoping something doesn't charge out of the dark at him.
All right, Edmund.
Oliver, do you still have that candle?
It's lying on the ground, but it's still lit.
Yes, Oliver will pick it up. It's right here.
Go help Howard. I'll fend off this thing for a little bit. Edmund will walk across here and try to get in between this opening, hoping that it not only sees him, but that opening is not enough for it to pass through because it didn't come into the room earlier.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. What I'm going to do is I am taking off. You no longer emit light.
Mm-hmm.
But the creature does.
Nice.
So he's, even with the flames kind of like the worst of it, he's kind of got a glowing embers about him. So let's see. Does he notice you?
And I
See who
am.
he does notice. Oh, are you gonna try to attract its attention?
I mean, that was my whole plan, was to attract him. So
Okay.
I'll probably take the sword, beating it off of the the stone or something like that.
All right, then I'm gonna give him a bonus to that roll, and he will have heard you, and he turns in your direction, and you can tell that he's seen you.
God, I hope this opening is enough.
And he
Please, for the love of
stomps
God,
forward.
let this
And-
be narrow enough.
He's gonna take a swipe at you, but it is very narrow where you are. He gets too, it's two difficulty levels. harder to hit you. So where is your smash? And he fails. So then mine-
Wow.
And
God, looking at that.
you can tell as his claws gouge into the wall next to you that could have easily shredded you had it hit. He's not too happy about that. And Oliver.
Oliver, well, he told me to go in this room. He says, you don't have to tell me twice. He'll run in here. He says, just stay quiet. He says, whatever's in here, it can't be worse than that thing.
There's a heart. Look, the beating heart.
Once he says that and you listen for it, you can hear it, that slow, unnaturally loud heartbeat. It echoes strangely, like echoes, but also muffled, if you know what I mean. Like the way if you talk into a can, it both echoes and is muffled.
Yeah, this is it's probably just our nerves.
Is that my heart?
Yeah, it's just beating in my ears. You know how it gets, and you're really scared.
You can tell that a large sarcophagus almost fills this room. Outer shell casings have been torn apart, and you can see their splintered remains. And so it reveals the opening of the sarcophagus, which seems to be made of gold.
Wow. Oliver will just stay in here, maybe very quietly explore. I'm not sure again with what all I can do in a round, but I would mainly just want to stay quiet in this room. And call Howard in and just encourage him to be quiet as well.
Oliver, can you make a spot hidden roll?
I can.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
It's at the very edge of your vision,
Uh-oh.
but you think you see an opening at the bottom of the room.
Yes. There's a way out. There's a way to somewhere else. Howard, this way. I would proceed toward that opening.
All right, I'm gonna put you here.
Sure.
Howard, you can move a little bit.
If you can see.
Okay,
it my
but
turn?
Yeah, it's your turn.
I think Howard, does that heartbeat sound like it's getting closer?
As you move in this direction, yes.
How far could we go?
You could get a little past Oliver.
And he'll rush up there with his axe in front of him, kind of leading the way, wide-eyed and looking around frantically.
At first glance, you see a room filled with an assortment of treasures, fragile artwork and sculptures and ceramics. You see a stone chest right here, and it's vibrating slightly, and that's where your turn is over. And we're gonna go back to Edmund.
Come on, Edmund.
What you gonna do in there?
Edmund very confidently. Beast, you think you can best me? I took some of the finest swordsmanship classes at Duke. And he just lunges with the sword, hoping to snag the beast in the eye.
All right, let's get an attack. Do you have a sword on tack on there? Let me see.
Yes, I do.
Sword.
I have sword medium.
Nice. Is he pretty good at it?
Not good enough.
Not good enough. It's kind of tight, and as you kind of lunge toward it, it lunges with its claw and kind of forces you to jump back a little bit, so your blow does not quite make contact.
You're a quick bastard, I see.
Let's see. I'm gonna make a power roll for him. All right. So he is still gonna try to get you. Oh,
Jeez.
it hit, but it's not an extreme, luckily for you. You take 9 points of damage. Take that off of your
Red.
yes, your red.
Mm.
So as you made that lunge, it reaches forward and just practically guts you across the torso.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Jeez. This thing hits harder than I thought it might. Hopefully those guys can at least do something.
Are you gonna hold your ground, or are you gonna back up?
More than likely, that attack would have knocked me backwards. I mean, I am on the brink. I would have fell backwards, bleeding out. So I would probably at least stagger back a few steps and probably fall back on my ass.
Yeah, you fall back, one hand clutching your stomach, hoping that there's nothing falling out of it. In this dim light, it's hard to make out how bad it is, but you can feel how wet your arm and hand feel against your stomach. And you just start praying that somehow your friends are going to be able to get you out of here. The creature sees you fall back and pushes and strains against the doorway, trying to get in, trying to finish the job. Bits of the ceiling and wall come down as it does so, but it can't reach you, and it backs off in frustration. And you can hear it start to back away and stomp off in another direction. All right. Oliver.
Yeah. I'm sure we heard him, like, scream out in pain, right? Oliver would say, well, he said he was holding him back. We should press on. Again, whispering.
The chest.
What? I think he spotted it. Is it right next to me here? The chest?
Yep.
Do I get the sense that this is where the sound is coming from?
You put a hand on it, and it vibrates with the same beat of the heart.
Yeah. Awesome. Yes, I think that sound is coming from here.
It looks like it's maybe sealed with wax or lead or something. You think it could be opened, but it's gonna take a strength roll.
Oh dear.
You
And
got
in the
this.
meantime, you hear footsteps, And you think they're coming closer.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to try to smash open this wax seal.
Okay.
Just grabbing. I don't know if there's something close to me I can grab to hit it with, or if I'm just gonna.
Sure. I'll give you a bonus for that. I'll
Yeah.
make it level easier.
Yeah. Just grab something and smash it into the box. And I attempt and I fail.
Oh no, it doesn't quite work.
I
But
just
still-
make noise.
Can you push that one?
I will say.
Can I push that one?
that as you. Oh yeah, you can absolutely.
Yeah, let's push it real good.
Yes.
Ooh, extreme success. Okay. So you take a whack at it and I don't know, hit it at an odd angle. So it just kind of bounces off of the corner, tipping it over on its side. But as it falls on its side, it's like it hits the ground at just the right way that the seal cracks and the lid pops open.
Sure.
And
I would
little-
probably try to hide behind the door frame here, although I'm still holding the candle, I suppose. So,
Yep.
light
so
flickering.
it's open.
Yeah, okay.
And that's what I'll say. Well, maybe you put the candle down on the ground.
Yeah.
We'll say something reasonable.
Yeah, just kind of holding it behind the door, like.
Howard, you see the seal on the box is broken and the heartbeat is very, very loud now. But strangely, once the it might just be a coincidence, but when the seal on the block was broken, you heard the creature roar. And you can tell it's stomping towards you. What do you do?
Howard is going to try to get that open.
All right, it's open. You can open it, because the seal is broken.
Yeah, maybe just kick it over. Yeah,
Yeah.
see if.
Some jars with wax seals kind of tumble out. They look like maybe they're limestone or something just off the top of your head. In the light of the candle, you see that there's little imprints on each jar. They look like animals. Why don't you do a spot hidden or a listen, whichever you prefer.
Ooh. Let's see here. All right, here goes spot hidden. Wait.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Nice.
There's one jar that has an inverted ankh. And as soon as you see it, you kind of feel it kind of, roll with the pulse, like a back and forth, a slight back and forth is with the pulse of the heartbeat. And Edmund, you are left in the dark, bleeding horribly. Are you doing anything? Are you thinking anything?
Edmund would, still on his ass, trying to catch his breath, try to find the edge of the wall to hide behind. While he's moving himself along in the darkness, he'd still be yelling out, "You bastard! Get back here! I'm not done with you. I can still go on. You're just not good enough to get me." And he's trying to yell out loud enough so that they can hear him say that the creature's leaving his side, that he is trying his hardest to warn them. He might even be trying to beat the sword off the side of the wall again. He might just off the distance here.
Yeah, unfortunately, it seems very preoccupied, and it's as it stomps
Oh no.
towards you guys.
Still on fire.
It pokes its head through the doorway and sees you all.
Can Howard shout something to Oliver?
Yep.
So he turns as he looks at the vial, the one that's quivering, and he turns and sees the horrible creature coming. He's got the axe in both hands, and he looks towards Oliver and he says, "The vial! Break the vial!" And he points at the one to break. The Ankh!
Yeah.
And with that, Oliver, it is your turn.
Oliver will, I suppose, still wielding the thing he used to break open the box. He will, with all of his might, come smashing down this Ankh because he doesn't have any better ideas.
Yeah, that's it. That's a shot in the dark.
Yeah. Is that a strength check or anything
I
else?
don't think you need any sort
Okay.
of
Cool.
roll. Why don't you?
Let's not.
to
Let's
break
say
a
I
jar?
succeed.
Like, you could smash it with your foot. you
Cool.
know, I'm not. I think that would be
Fair.
easy.
I'm
Yeah,
gonna
you
go
raise
overkill with
this-
the rock or whatever big
this-
chunk of.
Right. This chunk of limestone lying on the ground, and you smash it into the Ankh, and suddenly, the heartbeat fibrillates for a minute, and the creature roars in rage, and then it stops, and you hear a massive thunk as you assume maybe the creature hit the floor. And as it does, a large portion of the wall and ceiling kind of crumbles in around it. And even worse, it just continues.
Oh.
Oh, here we go. It's a Temple of Doom.
Indiana Jones.
Pieces
dear.
in this room start to fall in around you.
Okay. Oliver will say, "Well, I think it's time to go."
Howard's like excited at first. He's like, "Yes, it worked! Haha!" And then as the stuff starts to collapse, they're like, "Oh shit!"
I want you both to make dodge or dex, whatever you want to do.
Oh, come on. Can I push it or no?
Not on a combat.
Yeah, I
roll.
didn't think so.
Alright, here goes Dex.
Okay, you take 4 points of damage, Oliver, as a chunk of ceiling hits you in the head.
Ouch.
Howard, you just narrowly avoid being hit by one.
Oliver really gets smacked. It's nearly half of his hit points. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Howard is hightailing it.
Okay, where are you guys going?
Yeah, I
Oh
think.
jeez.
I think
Where
we-
can we go, right?
I think we would attempt to go back out the way we came, unless, yeah, this room looks pretty closed up. Yeah, out the way we came.
Is this room closed up?
This room appears to have no exit.
Yeah,
But, Let me have you both roll intelligence checks.
Oh, dang.
Okay.
There you go.
Edmund, I'm gonna let you roll an intelligence check too. Howard, you are looking around at the room caving in, and suddenly all you want is a cigarette. You start patting your pockets, looking for your lighter, your hand kind of shaking, and as you reach into that satchel that you took off of the skeleton, your hand touches something cylindrical, and you suddenly remember that one stick of dynamite.
Yeah, he'll hold that up. Is there a weak portion of the wall here, or is this for the front? That's the thing, I guess. I guess that's the way out, is the front, huh?
The only way we know
Yeah,
goes back out.
Yeah, he'll shout about the dynamite, and maybe we can blow the door open.
Or we could die here. We will want to run as fast as possible. I just don't want to go out of turn.
All right. I want another dodge or a dex roll from you guys as you are making your way out here.
Oh no.
Oliver, you made it.
Nice.
And
Nice.
Howard, you made it. All right, you both avoid falling rubble as you can make it over here. You pass the creature's form on the ground, still
Yeah.
smoldering,
There's one
reminding
around
you
here.
of the courage of your companion Edmund, wherever he might be.
We'll
Yeah.
shout Edmund's name. Edmund! Hoping he's still alive.
Edmund,
I'm
you
glad
hear-
to hear you all. What's that?
Yeah, you hear the sound of collapses, little collapses happening, although your room has stayed relatively stable.
I'm glad to hear it. You guys. Would I happen to see their light coming in
Yeah,
a little
you
bit
can
more?
see their light coming toward
Yeah.
you.
So we've got to go.
Howard will try to help.
I don't know how if I can move.
Yeah, I think Howard would definitely, like, maybe grab his hand, throw him over his shoulder, you know?
Let's see, make a Constitution roll, Edmund. Oh wow, nice. That's that stiff upper lip.
Nice.
This fancy boy's a badass.
Yeah, I know.
He is.
What's that little waistband that goes with the tux?
Cummerbund.
Cummerbund. Take your cummerbund, tighten it over the intestines. They're threatening to fall out. Use your sword as a kind of walking stick, and he comes stumbling out of the room.
Smooth his hair.
Yeah.
Just covered in his own blood, though. Just. All right, we need to get out of here. Is the room collapsing out here?
Yes. And you
Shit.
can tell it's getting worse.
With all his might and strength, he begins trying to stay close to the wall, figuring that that would be the one point that it wouldn't collapse the quickest, and try to make his way through the room.
You guys make your way through the room, maybe sticking to the edge, finding maybe some old helmets or plates or something that you can shield yourself with. There's so much in this room
All
that I'm
kinds
going
of
to give
stuff.
you that.
Yeah.
And then you all start to clamber desperately through the hole.
Let the little one go first. I might need his help getting through.
Crawl through with my candle.
Howard, you go next. He's not going to be able to pull me through.
He will not question that at all.
He's got the dynamite if we need it.
And then Edmund finally makes his way through the small opening, trying to hold his intestines in.
It takes you a minute, but the adrenaline and the desperation of the situation propels everyone forward. You can see these little openings have been enlarged a bit, but you think there's probably just some small niche behind there. Nothing. You don't see anything that gives you hope of escape there.
Wow.
You all run through the corridor with things collapsing faster and faster. I'm gonna need a dodge or a dex
Dex.
from everyone.
Oh. I'm still holding my plate.
Now,
I dropped the plate.
Well, that's all right. I'll
Now,
give you that.
before I start running down there, would I have noticed the dynamite in Howard's hand? Because I don't.
Oliver, you only take 2 points of damage because
Oh,
of your
okay.
plate.
Because of my plate.
Nah, everybody else manages to dodge. Now, what was the question?
Would I have managed to see the dynamite in his hand before I started running through there?
Roll a spot hidden. Yep, you sure do. Your eyes fall on that dynamite, and a spark of hope lights in your chest.
I still need to do my roll for. You said either a dex or a dodge.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
Oh no.
He's gonna die. Oh, no.
Make a Constitution check.
oh god! Come on, Con. Oh,
Oh,
God.
no.
Edmund falls unconscious as a piece of rubble hits him on the side of the temple.
Oh, jeez.
Damn it, man. Howard is gonna hand the stick of dynamite to Oliver and say, "Blow the door, blow the door," and he's gonna try to like drag Edmund.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll say that Oliver, you have made it to the door.
Mm-hmm.
Howard, you are kind of behind him a little bit with Edmund.
This tiny little... This is gonna collapse on us. Okay. Oliver will do as he's told because he's... Yeah, again, no ideas of his own. These are all great ideas.
I'm sure these thoughts go through your head. Is this
Sure.
going to collapse everything on top of us?
Yeah.
But
What
you
choice do
also
we have?
probably don't see another option.
Mm-hmm. So, I think Oliver will, light the dynamite and roll it, from where he is.
All right, Oliver. Make an intelligence check.
Okay.
Oh, you got it. Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I have a dynamite sound. Let me see.
Upon rolling it, I would then back up, because, dynamite,
Yeah.
boom, big boom.
There's a big boom, and this whole place is just starts to collapse around you. But you do see a cloud of smoke ahead and catch just the smallest whiff of fresh air. You all run towards the opening with everything caving in around you.
Yeah, I guess I would help him drag the rich boy's carcass.
All right. So let's get one more roll. Dodge or dex?
Oh, yes. Oh.
However, you do not get hit. Howard, you get hit by falling rubble. Oh, only 1 point damage.
I was
Oh,
thinking it's a
Lamp-
fumble though,
Nice.
but
Oh, it is a fumble.
It
Perhaps.
is.
Okay, so you take 4 points of damage.
Okay.
But you both make it to the door
Wow, dragging them
if
out.
you're not unconscious.
Yeah, we're all conscious. Well, 2 of us are conscious.
With this place caving in around you, you dash out into the twilight of the cool desert evening. You can tell that behind you, this place is just completely collapsed. As you stand outside, holding Edmund's form in your arms, what do you all do?
I think Howard would try his best to maybe resuscitate him. Or,
I'll let you make the first aid roll.
Oh, yeah, I think they first aid.
do you? No, well, let me check it real quick.
You can make an
he
hard
does.
intelligence check if you think that would be better than first aid.
Oh, a hard intelligence check. My intel's 60 and my first aid's 30.
Probably about the same.
Let's go first aid. He looks to Oliver, a kind of like maybe scared. He doesn't know what to do, but he just tries to stop any bleeding that he can and tighten it up, maybe put pressure on anything. And he says, "Well, we made it out."
Yeah, Oliver's on his hands and knees, just barely still moving. He says, we all made it out, but I don't know if he's going to make it.
Lost a lot of blood.
He says, here, tighten this cummerbund.
That's it.
Did you make the roll?
I failed.
He failed
Yeah.
big time.
I failed all over the place.
As you struggle to contain the wound, you watch the life bleed out of Edmund's body. His eyes flicker open for a minute, and he leaves you with just a handful of last words. Edmund, what are your last words on this earth?
Did we get anything?
We did.
We
Oh, Jeff,
At
Alright.
least we got some stuff. But at least you all can tell what happened.
you gave your life for us. Thank you, Edmund.
As you say that, you both watch his eyes glass over and stare blankly into the sky that's turning red and purple as the sun sinks behind the dunes ahead of you. You notice a scattering of lifeless forms on the ground. Some of the workers, you think, who had come here with you, their robes stained red with their own blood. A trail of footprints leads out into the desert. The vehicle that brought you here is gone. As you ponder what just happened, the lifeless form of Edmund in front of you and wonder if you can even make it out of this desert alive. The screen fades to black.
Aha!
And that's the end of this adventure.
Thanks, Slip.
That was a hell of a lot of fun.
That was awesome.
Oh, you all
Alright.
did better than I did. You know, we didn't even make it into the back room because we were all like fighting the monster in the main room, and then the whole place started collapsing.
That's awesome.
And my character dug out one of those little crevices in the hallway that turns out to have mummified dogs in it, and she crawled in there.
Oh,
And then the place collapses, and so she just dies in this floor hole in the wall.
that's awesome. And this game is a lot of fun. It's just
Now, is there any chance that we could have killed that creature without
Oh,
smashing the?
You were really close because, I mean, you got that extreme success with fire.
yeah.
It had let me look at it. Let me see how close it was.
That was a great idea, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It had 7 hit points left.
Wow.
So, between the Kopesh and the axe, yeah, you could get lucky. The problem is getting close enough to it. To
yeah.
hit it.
If
I
it hits you
one hit
once.
with that, yeah. Most people die. I mean, it might, like, you might get lucky and only take 8 or 9 points, but it
Yeah.
can hit you for like up to 14, I think.
Well,
Jeez.
Slip, you have the honor of killing off my first tabletop character. An honor Bees definitely wanted to take.
Yeah, no, it's an honor just to be here to
Hey.
witness it.
Edmund did turn out to be a badass for
Yeah.
He was.
a little
was.
prissy boy.
I don't think we'd have made it without him.
No, that's
But now
Clutch-
you get
clutch
to pick
distraction.
his pockets.
yeah. This is I'll find funding yet.
Did I
guess
hold
so.
on to the sword coming out of there? That was the only thought in my head was, did I hold on to the sword?
Sure. Maybe you've got it like tucked into your belt or something, but you've got a few black pearls.
Uh-huh.
That's about the only treasure you made it out with.
Yeah.
But it's not meant for you to make
Yeah.
it out with treasure.
Yeah, level up with your loot.
And Howard was just like, yeah, we're gonna be rich, man. He's just giving him some goodbye words,
Yep.
Gonna be good. One thing I love about this system is like, you're not heroes at all, and you're really just squishy, and anything's scary.
Mhm.
Yep.
I love that about it.
Yeah, on that
This-
first roll when I saw that 12 that happened to miss, I was like, oh my god. Holy fuck, one shot.
Yeah, even you did great because its chances to hit, it has an 80% chance to hit.
Yeah. It was lucky.
And I mean, you can dodge, but yeah, getting into the little narrow corridor gave you enough of an advantage that it could miss. So that was smart. I like that.
You did a great job running too, Slip.
Well, I can't really take credit. This is Darren's setup that makes it easy.
I don't know, that sound effects, the timing. I mean, when the monster started coming out, I was like, oh.
Yeah, you did a good job.
Well, that's why I didn't want to play an NPC, because when you have to hit a bunch of sound effects, I don't want to be worrying about moving a character around.